Well, hello and welcome to I Love Gay today. And it's not really fair. I'm having fun in interviewing some of my friends over the last few days on this, and I'm with my friend Auston Matta from Too Bad Tourists. How are you?
Hey, hi Matt. I'm so excited to be on your show. I've been watching you on LinkedIn, the I Love Gay show for a while, a few years. So it's nice to be part of it. And I know you were on one of our podcasts, so it's cool to finally collaborate on these.
I had such a great time with you guys on you and David on your podcast, and but for those that don't know, I mean, you and I, we our lives intertwine between so much online and our engagement and virtual connections, but then also we have the opportunity. We're connected in the real world quite often.
Definitely, we see each other. I mean, at least once a year, usually.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, maybe twice at some, but it tends to be like travel events and conferences and stuff like that.
And because I have all these notes of things like I have way too much to chat with you about. But when you talk about that, that's where I can't wait to see. If I don't see you in between now and October, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Japan because IGLTA convention is going to be there. And I will tell you, my husband's joining me as well, and he's putting together like a larger Japan trip. So we're going to be in Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. So I look forward
Yeah.
to spending time where all of us are together.
Me too. I'm super excited. I know a lot of people because most people are flying from quite far to Japan. They're always they're going to be adding on either before or after. So I think I'm staying 4 or 5 days after as well.
Oh, nice. So yeah, we'll find some really good opportunities to connect.
Definitely.
But mostly, I just, I think a lot of folks know who you are, and Too Bad Tourist has been out there for so long, and really focused so specifically on LGBTQ travel. But I don't know. I just think you've got some really unique things to talk about, and especially because I find that in the world that you're in, you started out where it was just a world of influencers, and they started being calling content creators, but you're in this world that in travel and influencers, but you've really been able to make a business out of it, and I would just say that I think you're unique because not only are you creating content, but you're also marketing yourself and marketing other tour companies as well, and you're selling travel. And so, yeah, tell us a little bit about that journey.
So I'm going to first say that I've been doing this so long. The word influencer didn't even exist when we started doing what we did. We were just called bloggers, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when David and I started, I think it was 2012 was the year that we started our website. Instagram, it either didn't exist or it had just launched and it wasn't mainstream. So the only social media platforms were really Facebook and Twitter and I think YouTube.
yeah.
And maybe some people on YouTube were sort of doing this thing that we, kind of talk about influencing or
Yeah.
like creators, but that terminology just didn't exist. So like when we were doing travel blogs or, if someone started a fashion blog or whatever, people just called them bloggers. And
Yeah.
that was kind of the term. And then yeah, a few years later, I think when Instagram got really big, I think that's when like someone kind of coined the term influencer. And now even the term is more like to creator now as opposed to influencer. So
Yeah,
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 so we've kind of done like the whole sort of arch, blogger, influencer, creator. But yeah, I guess the way that I sort of think of us is we started off as content creators, right? We were
yeah,
just really writing on our website, creating travel content about the places that we went to and that we visited and tips that we learned. And then we sort of supplemented that with social media. But yeah, over the years, like you said, like we really tried to find a way to be more than just a blogger or an influencer, but to take like this audience that we created and build a business out of it, right? Like, how do we create more and more value or more and more products or more things that we can offer to our audience over time? And so that's kind of how we've gotten to where are like, I guess it's been 11 years now.
yeah. But no, that's if we just focus on the fact that you're now selling travel. So one of the big things you're doing is you're putting together your own groups and group travel. I see cruises listed on your site a lot, but the part that's near and dear to my heart is that you're also doing local gay tours in Madrid where you live, and food tours. So it seems
Yeah,
like that mix is working well for you.
that's the newest one, the guided tours in Madrid. But I'll
Yeah,
so I'll we'll save that one to the end, but I'll go to sort of the first time that ever happened. So
yeah,
I remember I used to like you, I attend a lot of travel conferences, and in the early days after we started our website, I was attending a lot of the conferences at TBEX, which is I think stands for Travel Blog Exchange, but it was the conference that was designed for travel bloggers, now for content creators. And I remember like, in the infancy of our blog and business, like going to these sessions and I would learn so much. And, so many people would get up on stage and say, like, it's great if you have your own audience and your blog and, you can, promote other people's products and they can pay you. But you're always going to have sort of a more sustainable and more profitable business if you can find your own product to sell, right? And so when we started off, we built an audience over time, and the way that we would monetize it is different travel brands or businesses, would pay us to promote their product, and we're like, well, if we can promote someone else's product, can't we just create our own product and then use our own audience to sell it, obviously? Um, and so in 2000, I think it was 2017 or 18, tour operator who ran sailing trips in Croatia. They were running gay sailing trips in Croatia. Messaged us on Instagram and said, "Hey, do you want to be an ambassador for our trips? And we'll give you a commission for every place that you sell on the sailing trip." And I saw it and I looked at it and I was like, I don't want to do that. And I just ignored it for like 6 months. And then at one point, David and I were chatting and I mentioned the opportunity because I don't think I even told him. And he was like, well, that actually sounds kind of cool. And then the thought in my mind came back to that, like, travel conference where I was like, well, actually, that will be our own product. And what better product could we have to offer our audience than a travel product, right? And so in 2018 was the first year we promoted a sailing trip, a week-long sailing trip in Croatia to our audience that we attended. And then, yeah, anyone that we brought along from our audience, we got a commission from. So that's how like the group travel started.
Yeah, interesting. Well, the areas that I, from the outside looking in at you, and not to embarrass you or these things, but no, I would just say you have a variety of things that are unique to you guys, to you, and just a small handful of others. The other piece is that there's only a few of you that are actually strong on Facebook. I would say a lot of influencers kind of shun Facebook as something their parents and their grandparents enjoyed, but you guys have a strong following on Facebook. And then I would then say, when it comes to your marketing travel, I think I can safely say you are the dominant marketing company when it comes to LGBTQ tour operators, and it seems like Facebook is the strongest area for you.
So I would definitely say on the social media side, our largest following across all of our platforms is Facebook, right?
Yeah.
So, and that might just be the nature of the fact that when we started, like it was Facebook and Twitter, and so we had years of developing that audience and growing over time before Instagram or TikTok or anything ever existed. So I think we just kind of leaned into the platform where we already had the audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the other difference with, platforms like Facebook versus Instagram or TikTok is Facebook is really good at driving website traffic, right? Like you can share links and it drives website traffic. And that's really good for us, promoting our own trips. Whereas, platforms like Instagram, with Reels or TikTok, it's really more about like brand awareness or just kind of getting your message out. It's not so easy to share a link that people can click on and go to your website. And since
Yeah.
our website was one of our most important channels, we sort of leaned into a platform that we could drive traffic to our website.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. And especially with all the content that you have on your website with the city guides and directory, just you've got a lot of areas of the world covered. And between that and your SEO, and then you've got this destination. So, I mean, you really, like I said, there's very few that have kind of pulled it together as like a travel destination website, social media, and the whole works.
Yeah, well, and honestly, the secret to our business is actually none of the things we talked about.
Yeah.
This honestly, the most valuable asset that we own in our business is our email list. It's our newsletter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And we hadn't really talked about it yet, but we do a weekly travel newsletter. And we've been building that email list since I think 2014, so it's about 10 years.
Yeah.
And we have 115,000 subscribers. And so that, I mean, for us is honestly our most valuable asset. And you and I were talking about this, before we went live on this call, but as much as it's great to have these digital platforms, whether it's your website that Google's referring traffic to, or Facebook or TikTok, like in theory, all the social media platforms, like I kind of refer to it as like, rented land. You're like building your business on rented land, right? I don't own my audience on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or YouTube at any time. I mean, this is a perfect time and day, like what Congress is talking about, a potential ban on TikTok. Like if
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
happened, like people who had these millions of followers on TikTok, they could vanish tomorrow and their business would go away if they were only relying on that, right? And so one of the things we tried to do early on was diversify, right? Making sure that, okay, we have our website, we own the website, although we do rely on Google to send traffic. Facebook, okay, we're going to do social media because we need to, and we need to have some presence, but we're not going to rely on it as the number one source of how we drive audience and business, but we
Yeah.
still do it, right? But that's where the email list is super unique in that of all the digital marketing platforms, it's really the only one that you own 100% and you don't rely on another tech platform to drive, audience and traffic to it. So we really leaned into that.
Yeah. I agree with you completely. And I would just say almost everything that we deal with, sadly, is in some way, shape, or form rented land because
Yeah, yeah, sure.
to send the emails out in a successful way, yeah, we all work with an email service provider. But even our websites, we think, oh, well, that's ours. But even then, you're renting space on someone else's server, and
For sure.
unless you've got a server in your bedroom and a T1 line coming in, which is a very old school way of doing it, which none of us do. Yeah, like I think it's a little scary sometimes that at the end of the day, we're dependent upon this infrastructure to keep everything going.
We definitely do. I guess the benefit with the email is I think there's just a lot more service providers that provide that, right? Like if Amazon, I think we use Amazon on our backend. So if they cut us off, like I can go find 100 other people. But when there's social media platforms, I mean, you're talking about like three or four, right? So there's just a lot more flexibility in it. But like I said, like we do depend on social media, largely, for visibility, like everyone else does. It's just I think one of the things that I learned over time is just moving from just creating content and being an influencer or having a website is how can we diversify everything that we do, our revenue streams, our online channels, so that if one of them does get cut off or something happens, our Instagram channel gets hacked or whatever,
Oh
we're
yeah.
not totally screwed, right? So I guess if our newsletter somehow got cut off, yeah, we would take a hit, but we still have Facebook, we still have our website, we still have,
Oh yeah.
different channels that we can then lean into to kind of recover.
And I'm an optimist. I think that overall, especially because we're all diversified, so we should be okay in those regards.
We'll be fine, yeah.
Yeah, but I loved it also on some of the content you created. You were just recently in Florida, and you guys earlier this year, and you did this whole like 4-day road trip from Key West, and I loved following you on that.
Oh, thank you. That was such a fun trip. So funny, like I've heard for so long, like how great like the Florida Keys is, and I've been to Key West twice, but only on a cruise stop. So like when you go on a cruise stop, you really don't get the essence of like a destination. So this was the first time that I've been to Key West, and we stayed in Key West for 2 nights, but then did a road trip. So basically, I would definitely recommend anyone who wants to visit Key West and the Keys, definitely try to do a road trip if you can, one way or the other, right? I don't think you necessarily need to drive both directions, but what we did is we flew in from Fort Lauderdale, but you could fly from Fort Lauderdale or Miami or wherever else you're coming from, and then stay a few days in Key West, and then yeah, rent a car and then drive the Keys because it's such a cool experience, like
Yeah,
driving on, I think it's like what, the 7 Mile Bridge where you're
yeah,
driving, there's just nothing but ocean all around you. So it was really cool. Key West was fun because it's obviously like a big LGBT destination, but then we got to see like the other parts of the Keys, which are like more chill. We had like
yeah.
this nice beachside hotel, and so it was a nice mix.
Nice. And it's kind of wrapping up. We're working on a project over the next few months, and it's really going to be focused on bringing to light the stories and understanding better LGBTQ seniors travel. And that seems to be like a very strong area of interest that's growing. But just overall, especially with some of the tours that I see you put together, LGBT seniors have been a strong part of your travel and tourism over the last few years as well.
Yeah, yeah, they definitely have. It's funny. So, like, because we have a big social media presence, people tend to think of us as like content creators or influencers. So they sort of assume that all the people that come on our trips
Yeah,
are like young.
yeah,
And even the people who come on our trips, a lot of times they're older people, and they'll email us and they say, "Will I fit in? I'm 55 and I don't want to go on a trip with a bunch of 20 or 30-year-olds." And the funny thing is, actually, the vast majority of the people that do go on our group trips tend to be in that, slightly older range. Like I would say the average age ranges from mid 40s to mid 60s. That's sort of the average. But occasionally we do get someone who's younger, and occasionally we get some folks that are older. And especially on the cruises, I've noticed, because cruise travel is a much it's sort of an easier way to travel. And the being on a ship, it's like a comfortable way to travel. You don't
Yeah.
require a lot of like moving around. We get older folks that go on there. And, because over the past 6 years, we've had enough people come on our trips. Sometimes we've had to learn how to deal with people who have limited mobility, folks that are older that maybe, can't walk, can't do a 3-hour tour. And we've had to kind of teach ourselves how to be supportive of those people, because we want them to come on our trips, if at all possible. And so that's been a learning experience, over time. And I'm happy to say that, yeah, if someone says that they have a disability or has limited mobility, like, we can actually accommodate them. We have experience doing it, or at least, we'll do everything possible. So it's been
Nice.
cool. And the other thing that's great about senior travel is, because we have a lot of men that come on our trips, and like the guys that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, a lot of them maybe weren't out when they were younger, and so they were married and they have kids. So you hear these like really amazing stories of people that have gone through this process, and that wouldn't happen if we had 20 and 30-year-olds only on our trips. So it's cool. They have good stories.
Yeah, very well put. Well, I think this is fantastic, and like I said, I'm a big fan, and I love our time together whenever we, especially when we're looking forward to what we're in Japan. But mostly, I'm just really glad that you're able to take a few moments of your time and kind of just share a little bit about what you guys are up to this year with our audience.
Yeah, me too. Thanks so much. And I'm looking forward to having sake with you in Osaka and lots of other great Japanese food.
I will tell you the story. I was in Osaka once, and it had a whole sake evening. And when we're together, I will tell you the whole thing.
I'm
It was a
looking
little
forward to it.
crazy.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. It was great chatting.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
So good.